Hello, my name is Frances Fox, and I am a trained remote viewer, trained by the government. I was in a secret military program literally since I was born. Actually, I have been told that I was bred for this program. Isn't that disgusting? Not good. Anyway, the trick of the matter is that we're all responsible for everything. We create our reality, and I chose this incarnation, and it was explained to me when I started therapy to recuperate. We choose everything. I chose this in order to be able to do what I'm doing today, which is share extra information from the other dimensions. All of you have chosen the god awful things in your life, and you've earned all of the good things in your life. But it's important not to just stay in victim mode. Um, and that whole thing with karma, you draw to you what you need, and the whole contention that we should all be equal and we should help the people that have less. And then we end up with a society that's struggling and not paying for its own stuff because they're busy helping other people, all that stuff. We don't need to get into that. What you need to know is that there's an expression in Spanish: water seeks its level. When it comes to life, water seeks its level. And the level that it seeks is the level that that person needs, and that person determined that from before. You will notice that most people that do incredible things on the planet had really rough childhood issues, or they had god awful things happen to them. And if those god awful things had not happened, they wouldn't be doing what they were doing today. In other words, whatever's god awful in your life probably sets you up for your mission, which means that if you hadn't gone through that, you wouldn't be aligned with your mission. I have to remember that a lot when I look at my grandkids and my kids and other people. I want to save everybody. I don't want anybody to go through misery. Yet if I hadn't gone through this misery, I wouldn't be able to do this that I'm doing, which has me extremely happy. So I'm just reminding you of that. And then let's go in terms of the United States. I'm stuck in the United States. I'm here. I think we are the leader having to do with the golden age. I think Venezuela is the leader in terms of the spiritual aspect of the golden age. And I think the United States is the leader in terms of the physical dimension, with how successfully we have created financial success and money and projects, etc. I have a book that's up on Amazon. It's called The Gods Speak: Dolphin Wisdom Revealed. And one of the things that it says is that the issue with human beings on the planet at this stage is that we resolved, and certainly that's the case for the United States, a lot of the issues on the physical dimension. In other words, food and water and where to live. And yes, I know there's a lot of people that need help right now. I'm talking generically, bigger picture. We certainly look like a very successful country. And what the dolphin said was that the problem was that we weren't supposed to stay stuck making our physical life more comfortable, which is what we did. We should have, being it that we had settled those baseline issues, we should have gone on to develop and evolve spiritually and emotionally, and we didn't. So we have just, today's the 24th. There was a incredible planetary alignments that happened between the 21st, I believe, or the 20th and the 24th. And a lot of people said something really huge was going to happen. And it did. It was a frequency shift. And I could see it when I was giving my classes, the 2 days I was giving my classes, that I would check everybody as I was adjusting things in them. As I was adjusting their heads, having to do with what is probably a direct result of too much radiation, I would energetically, I stand behind the people and I'm healing a lot of people at one time. And then I'm fixing the structural part of their heads so that they won't have a portal and they won't have all this bad stuff coming in. But as I was doing that, beyond that, I could see the polar caps shifting. I've never seen that. And I went, whoa, this the issue of the polar cap shifting is already happening. I'm not sure that the planet is going to flip. I don't know. But what it is that I found out is that we went through a huge frequency shifts in the last several months and last year. Dizzy, things with your head, not feeling well, tired. Um, and right now we did the frequency shift. Those were changes in frequency, augmentation of frequency, but that frequency shift having to do with ascension, it happened for a lot of us. And everything for those that it happened for, things are different. They're easier. When you're going to do something, it's not like you have this big wall there in front of you. It's not like you have to struggle. Everything becomes easier. The trick of the matter is that not everybody made that frequency shift. So we're at the place, and they talk about it in the Bibles, and the Mayans did too, where you have a group of people that's in a different vibration. This country is in a different vibration for many, many people. Everything is more positive. It's easier. Things make more sense. And then you have the people that didn't want the change of administration, wherever, that are miserable and da, 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 da. So you have those two groups of people. Right now, we're kind of limiting ourselves to talk about the United States. Well, what did the dolphins say about this in terms of feeling sorry for, in terms of, I'm not talking parties, the people that are still struggling with everything and everything is so difficult and things are not going well? According to the dolphins, we are not supposed to save them. We're not supposed to reach out to them. Since the 90s, the dolphins have said that everybody's going to divide into two groups. Bible said it, the Mayan said it. And some people are going to be lifted up, their frequency is going to be different and things will get easier. And the other group is going to kind of like be in a bad place and kind of going down. What the dolphins said, don't reach across that division, that line between the ones that are moving up and the ones that are falling down. Because if you reach out and they grab your hand, they could take you with them. And then Dolphin said those people had a lot of opportunities for changing, for doing the adjustments that would make them live a more truthful life, at which time they wouldn't be on that side of the line, they'd be over here. So just don't try to save people that are in a black hole in the bottom of what. Don't try to save them because they could take you down. The Dolphin said that in the book that is on Amazon, and it would have been in 1996 when I would go to the Seaquarium to talk to them. And we can see that division here in this country, but the division is not in the country, is not between the people that don't have enough money and places to eat and sleep. There is a lot of that, but the division appears to be in what do we do about all of these things? And what were we doing before? I'm not sure that I'm going to be able to explain this effectively, but I'm going to try anyway. Everything has to do with the truth. In the other dimensions, the truth stands. In the physical dimension, you can do all sorts of little games and kind of hide it, even from yourself. But in the other dimensions, it is only the truth that's standing. You can have a spirit that poses as the Virgin Mary. And some people do channeling and having to do with the Virgin Mary, but the Virgin Mary doesn't really get into people's body for channeling. But you can have a spirit that looks like that in the other dimensions. All you have to do to know whether that is actually the Virgin Mary is to just sit there and look at that spirit, because that spirit is not the Virgin Mary. And within a minute, minute and a half, that figure in the other dimensions is going to turn around, walk behind a door, melt, because it cannot hold something that's not true. And it's not true that it's the Virgin Mary. So truth remains standing. And the example that I can give you is the whole thing, and I understand because I certainly felt that way my whole life until relatively recently. You know, we want everybody to be the same. We want everybody to have two cars and a TV in every room and da, 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 da. Yes. So what do we do about that? Well, I didn't have to figure that out because I'm not a politician. But you had two groups of people. One group of people that was, no, we have to help all these people, apply it to immigration, let them all come in, They're not doing well in their countries. Well, what happened to karma? Trash karma. They don't believe in karma. So saving people. And then you have these other people that are generally Republicans going, wait a second. Uh, why are we giving away these things so literally? So it's not that the Republicans believe in karma, but they're certainly a little bit more supportive of the concept of just because they don't have anything doesn't mean we're supposed to make changes. So the trick is, the truth of the matter is that those people that are saying, let them all in and let's give them all of this here, when they started to bust the people into their hometowns and put them in front of their homes and saying, okay, give them a place to stay, because all of these people do not have a place to stay. I'm not sure, I don't think a single one of the people that was saying, let them all in, took in the people. So they weren't truthful. They had an ideology that I support also, but not based on truth. They weren't willing to take from their own bank accounts or take a room in their home. I'm sure there were certain people that did, but generically speaking, they weren't. That's not the truth. It's not true. It's a concept, and it's a great concept, and I support it, but it's not true. And that is creating total havoc, because being that Trump has stopped most of that, then maybe for a little bit longer, those people that believed goodness for everybody and give everything to everybody are going to believe it in a little bit longer, because they didn't really actually have to deal with the consequences of that. So the truth is the most important thing, the truth. So what is the truth? We don't deal with emotional stuff. Remember the dolphins? Well, I started this saying that the dolphins said that the problem in modern society is that we got a certain level of comfort that has not been known throughout the human history. And then we continue to make the physical body more comfortable, more air conditioning, different clothing, a second apartment, working out, surgery for your face to stay young, rather than going inside and working on the part of you, the part of you that lives after your physical body dies. So we went ahead and pampered our physical body to the neglect of our spiritual and emotional development. So we have a lot of people that are struggling because this is very much a spiritual time. And if you're not in contact with that, it's a problem. If you notice that I'm not stringing words together so great, and I haven't in the last two podcasts, you can imagine the level of stress that people like me are in, those of us that have been sex trafficked, and where the people are still around that did the sex trafficking and they're not in jail. So now I'm going to tell you something that's pretty god awful. I get information mentally. I get images. Whoever it is, my guides determine what it is that I might need to know. We have a heavy duty politician who I saw, and I know it's happening because it makes sense, was getting raped by several men. What is that all about? I'll tell you what that's all about. We have a president that's come in and is going to stop a lot of the shenanigans like the program I was in, like the sex trafficking. Well, what about all those people that did that, such as my Cuban political mafia? Okay. What about them and these space of time in which they know it's going to be over for them? What are they doing to those of us, me, mind control robot, and the people that were sex trafficked? What are those handlers, controls, bad people doing? They're beating up on the people that could take them down. They already did that in a whole election cycle with Trump. I'm talking about something very real and very today that you're not going to like to hear. So it doesn't surprise me when I see a very prominent political figure nationally getting raped by several men in one session. What was that session for? To make sure that that person does not talk get out of line, or lose his programming. So, Trump, you have a lot of programmed people who right now are going to be going through the ringer because their handlers, their control needs to make sure they stay under control. Now, ultimately, this will all iron out. But meanwhile, back at the farm, there's a lot of very real things that make total sense that they would be happening. One of the interesting things about this image is that I had always suspected that this person, obviously a victim, but that this person, that there was something about the person that wasn't real. And I think that I'm not too sure that there would be practically anybody else that would have been able to tell that, but that's, whatever. But I felt very, 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 very bad. But I can't save all of these people other than sharing this, so that if you know people that are mind control victims or have been sex trafficked, you need to know that it is not over. The fat lady has not sung yet. I think that Trump is going to win this. I spent the whole day crying when he said he was going to release the stuff on Kennedy, because I was sex trafficked with Kennedy. I was between 12 and 14. I don't know what year it was. I don't have a point of reference. I don't have much of a point of reference, but it was between 12 and 14. Would have been when I got here from Cuba. We had gone from Europe to Cuba, and then we came to Miami. It would have been those 2 or 3 years, and then he was murdered. So when I saw that Trump was releasing finally that information, I cried the whole day. And then I was like, okay, now I can walk out. I can get my nails done wherever. And maybe I can buy some clothes and not just have to change the scarves to look a little bit different. And maybe the necklace and the scarf will make people think I have a new blouse on. What the hell? It's not important. And then it was, no, 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 no. So let me tell you a little technique that happens in mind control. I have a place where I get my nails done lately. It's a new place, and it's in a little shopping center. And I remember one of the first times that I had my nails done, I thought, this is a good place for meeting. And I realized that my head was thinking about all those meets that I have had with my handler. Okay, let's meet. 7-Eleven's, great place. This little shopping center has a little 7-Eleven, except it's not a 7-Eleven. It's an easy pick or whatever. And I remember that thing went through my head. So today I'm sitting here, and this has happened many times. I'm sitting here and I'm going, you know what? I think I'm going to get my nails done, because I tried a new polish. I put it on my one finger, and then because this is too loud, the other orange, and now it doesn't look good. I have two different polishes on, and the young people can do that, but I can't get away with it. And all of a sudden, I want to get my nails done, and I want to get my nails done because of this one finger. I want to get my nails done. And then I went, wait a second. Yeah, I'd like to get my nails done. This is mind control. So I don't know if I have taught you this. I've taught my followers, but I don't know if I've taught you this. But what they were doing was a mind control technique that I've taught my followers, but it's used, your intention is everything. They were sitting there, these old Cuban men, going manicure, 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 and sending that thought to my head like a little machine gun. Manicure, 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 manicure. And of course, in my head, I'm going, you know what? I really should get that manicure, because that does not look good. And I'm going to get. They wanted to get me to that little shopping center, which, by the way, is here in Coconut Grove, right next to downtown Coconut Grove. It's next to this nail place, and it's next to the Last Carrot. There. The last time I was there, one of the old people were there. I felt bad because he's kind of like in a wheelchair, because they're old. The ones that actually traffic me are very old. I met them in the Bay of Pigs in the Everglades, getting ready for invading Cuba. Anyway, so the dangers are still there, but we're talking about me, and we're talking about these old people. There's still a lot of young ones, but the danger is not over yet. We still have the person that I saw getting raped, and there were several men in that room. and he's a man, it wasn't a woman, that person is a current person who's a big deal. And you don't know that he is a mind control victim. So I'm not saying this because I feel sorry. I'm saying this in case this can help to get this to stop earlier rather than later. Because if this doesn't get stopped, you're going to have a lot of people around you, Trump, that are mind controlled and they look just fine. My husband didn't know I was a mind control victim. Give me a break. It's so easy to fool all of you guys because you're too focused on the physical. You don't ask enough questions. Anyway, I needed to share that. Give me a second. We're at a point of the end of the cycle on planet Earth. A lot of people already have more than 1 foot into the golden age. I can tell you the difference is incredible. The joy, I can feel it. I'm living it. 1 foot, the other foot, Trump, 1 foot into the golden age. You can see the joy and what he transfers to other people. Still, the other foot, he still has to deal with the people that are over there that didn't make all the changes, whatever. I'm not being judgmental. I'm trying to teach you what it is that I've learned. And if I'm wrong, then yeah, it'll all come out. And I have no problem in you calling me on it. Just don't call me on concepts. Call me on something that you actually can see and prove. So we're at a place of light and dark. But light is not supposed to kill dark. The same way dark is not supposed to kill light. So, by the way, this is not a platform, Living Energy Solar Service, for me finding out that you don't like Elon Musk because you know that I like Elon Musk. Okay, and if you haven't done your homework on Elon Musk's salute, it wasn't a salute. He touched his heart, which everybody else does. You obviously are not on X, or you would have seen how much fun everybody made of everybody who thinks he was saluting like a Nazi. So quit it. Anyway, we're not supposed to kill light, dark. Dark's not supposed to kill light. At the end, there's supposed to be a merger of the two in the heart, which, by the way, the heart, the name of the heart chakra, Anahata, means no sound. And what it's referring to is there's no clash. When there's a clash, there's a sound. At some dimensions, there's a sound. No sound because there's no clash. And the Mayans explain it very nicely in a sense that they talk about the sub-personalities that we all have and how that's going to be the really big issue. At the end is not what that bad guy did, but when you remember what you did when you were 7 and you broke your brother's arm or you stole from your mother's purse, and you're going to feel so horrified because you didn't remember that. So we're not supposed to kill the opposite frequency. Okay, and that's real important to learn. And it's not a question of forgiving. It's a question of understanding that that darkness was necessary. When Bush was elected, I was horrified. My life changed completely. Francis, we got to get to work. And then when I finally, a couple years later, I went, okay, so why did we, okay, everything that bad that happens, we need. Why did we need that? We needed that because look at all the war they got us into. To where finally, what, a decade later, we go, why are we in all these wars? This doesn't make any sense. So whatever darkness there is in your life, you need it because there's something you haven't realized yet. In terms of my victimization and my group's victimization by this Cuban political mafia, they're into the most god-awful, unbelievable black magic. Where did I learn the most about magic? By seeing what they're doing and by seeing also the magic done to a lot of my clients. It wasn't done by them. So, Francis, why did you need this enemy until like now? Because I kept learning. Because it was my intention to teach about white magic, to teach magic, which is miracles, but repeatable, and you're in control of it rather than, oh God, look, a miracle. No, you did it. Superpowers. So I needed this because my intention. So whatever went on in this country, rather than bad people, you're not supposed to be pointing fingers. You're supposed to be, why did I need that? So why did Trump need for that election to be taken away? I don't know. He has to ask that. You all have to ask that. Why did you need that? Why do you need this? And it will make a huge difference in this space of time in which there's this deep division between the light and the dark, and in terms of the behavior. And I'm going to remind you again, the big enemy is not other human beings. It's not the Republican, Democrat, the people from this country, the other country. The big enemy that we have is from off planet. And we identify them as the devil, a lot of connection to Orion, and the succubus and incubus, which the Catholic Church has listed in the list of spirits. Those are our big enemies. The succubus and incubus, by the way, are the one that's creating all the sexual stuff to where we have population collapse, because people go, population collapse, what the hell's it got to do with sex? People don't want to have sex anymore. The young people don't have sex. They can lay in bed with a good-looking guy, girl, whatever, and they don't even think about sex. They're just friends. That doesn't compute for those of us that are older. Like, yeah, the sexual energy is gone. Of course, you're going to have population collapse. Russia's dealing with it. Russia, they're really real. Let me see if there's anything else here in my notes. Okay. I drew the United States. So the dolphin said in the book, The Gods Speak, Dolphin Wisdom Revealed. I don't care whether you buy it or not. I mean, I think I had it up forever on a PDF that you could download for free. I'm not sure it's there now. I sketched the United States. The dolphin said that the problem now, when some people are going to be, whoa, golden age, and some people are going to be, oh my God, the problem was not paying attention to the other dimensions, which is spiritual and emotional evolution. So I have sketched the United States for this chat, and this is what's going on. That is a spiraling counterclockwise, which means root chakra. It's black, massive depression. And I went, why? I'm so happy. Trump is so happy. Everybody I see on TV with him is so happy. Stuff is happening. This is great. The other side of the aisle, the people that are going to lose their jobs because they're not willing to go into work, the people that have kids that are trans, the people that are trans, we're talking about a lot of people. All the immigrants, massive depression. So if you put this together, and I don't think I'm going to be able to find it quickly, but if you put that together with the map that I did earlier in the week, this is the United States, that's Russia. This is a miasm, but it continues on all over California. This is black, major depression, but with spirits. If you put this that's happening now together with this, we're going to be in deep trouble. And it is not going to be political. It's going to be emotional, but then the emotional is what is the difference between a human being, and your parrot or your hamster. Emotions are incredibly important. They're like kind of like everything. So we have to deal with this massive depression that is already, I believe, and I'm going to ask, and then I'll get back to you on this, but this goes all the way into California. I just couldn't find a map that would have this all together in the size I wanted. I believe that this is a miasm, that this miasm is the reason for the crazy stuff happening in California. And you can say, no, those are people setting those fires. Okay, that's still crazy. Okay. That when you get something like this, a lot of people die. And a lot of people do crazy things. So the depression and this miasm needs to be attended to or this wonderful shift, in my opinion, that is happening is going to be eclipsed by an emotional decline. And emotions are everything. Remember Star Wars when it says, "May the force be with you." Um, that force is astral particles, which is what your spirit is made up of. And it's known in Hinduism that astral particles are a force. And science has been able to get somebody with their focused intention, thoughts, to turn on a computer. And there's many stories about that. So this needs to be addressed, and it can be addressed. We have the answers. It just needs, I guess, the delivery of the information, the delivery of what it is that needs to happen, having to do with changing the astral particles in the other dimension. That's the big issue. We'll deal with it, and we're here to help. So I think that you should all remember what I just told you right now about this politician. And I'm never going to say the name. In the first place, it's humiliating. In the second place, it's not my place. It's not what I'm here to tell you, that this happened to one person, but I can tell you it's probably happening to all of them. One way, shape, or form, those people that Trump is targeting, rightfully so, and he should not stop, creates an issue for the people that these bad guys had under control, used, or know their ugliness or their darkness. So maybe you should have an intention that there be a graceful acceptance that this is going to happen, having to do with the bad guys. And I should formulate a nice mantra for that and get it up on X with our music. Okay, I'm going to let it go. And again, if I'm not wrapped too tight in the last several days, I have an awful lot going on because I have to hop and skip, having to do with living in a city full of people, some of whom really don't know the real storyline. And I'm not going to leave without saying this. You guys need to know that every time you go, he's a communist, they want communism. Do you know what you're doing? You have just been mind controlled. Okay? Somebody figured out that if they can say the word communist, you are going to jump up and go, no. Okay? You got that. Okay, now all we have to do now is point a finger. That country, they're going to go communist if we don't invade. I don't like communism, but I didn't like the democracy that I was done in by. And I'll never forget the day that the Iron Curtain fell. That wall in Berlin, I think was it in Berlin? I don't remember. Yeah, that came down. And I remember that like a week later, people in the news were saying, the newscasters were saying, it's a little bit weird because the Russian military is like, it's all old planes and old stuff. And Russia doesn't look the way we thought they were going to look, like it's really strong, ready to eat us up alive. They use Russia as a boogeyman. They still do it today. And communism? The people that follow me in Miami and are dreadfully dangerous to me believe that if people like me can talk or whatever, I don't even know because I don't talk about that stuff. Communism and Castro, please. They're still talking about communism in Washington, D.C. What the hell? Why are you talking about communism? Because you can get a lot of people to sign on the dotted line if you talk about communism. But I'm not really talking about communism. I'm talking about you guys getting jerked around and you guys getting mind control. So anytime somebody says communism, go, talk to me the details. What are you saying? Don't, don't. These are trigger words. These are words that they pack full of stuff that they know is going to get you to relax, to react. And then they already they know the direction they're going to point you in. Since when has communism been such a big deal? I loved it. It was in the news today in X. Yeah, I'm going to say it. There was a document. I don't know who it was from the intelligence center memo. It was CIA, I think. And it was saying how they needed to create an issue to be able to get the United States to go to war against Castro. And I looked at the date, it was 1962. But they were inventing the issue. They invented the issue, which they would use. Hey, look, communism, look what they're doing. But they weren't doing that in Cuba. They weren't doing that in Cuba. But the word communism, like the boogeyman, you know what? The boogeyman was the United States, not. Now, am I in agreement with Castro? No. No, you know why? You know, it's weird stuff, Cuba. Why? Because I was sent to Cuba. My whole family, we went to Cuba in 1959 or 19, I think it was 59. Castro came in January 59. We went in September 59. We did intelligence work. I was 11. Okay. So the trick of the matter is, and I told you this a couple of weeks ago, if you can find it in the internet, because that's where I found it written. The United States, there was people that wanted the United States to go after Castro. So it's in X today, that letter, that memo within, I believe it was the CIA, about inventing this stuff to get people to go, yes, let's go after Castro. The CIA, with a Jesuit, look it up on the internet, with a Jesuit, started the rumor that Castro was going to take all the kids in Cuba and send them to the farms to harvest. So you're talking about the whole ritzy people in Havana and other parts going, my child. And then the Catholic Church stepped up to bat and set up Operation Peter Pan. Okay. So then the article, which is in several places, the CIA agent said he had a suitcase full of, I don't know how many hundreds or thousands of visas, but only for the children. They didn't bring over families. They were going to save the children. And they brought over, I think, 14 to 16,000 children from Cuba to save them from communism. Meanwhile, now we know, because it was open knowledge now, 10 or 15 years ago, that article's old, that it was the CIA that set it up. What did they do with those 16,000 children, 14 to 16,000 children? A lot of them are politicians today. The kids are not bad. But I remember meeting somebody that came over in Operation Peter Pan, prominent person in her field. And when you're Catholic and you have godparents, those godparents are like your parents. Anything happens to your parents, those are your parents, your godparents. So her parents stayed in Cuba. I don't know if they passed. Her godparents came and immediately contacted the government and said, we're going to take, whether her godparents, we're responsible for it, we'll take it. They wouldn't give the kid up. I don't know how many Peter Pan survivors have written books in which they talk about how they were sexually abused. Taking kids away from their immigrant, well, their parents were not immigrant. Their parents stayed in Cuba and then they had to figure their way out, whatever. But it was a setup. But it was a setup with trigger words. Take your children, communism, communism. And then the communist government falls, Russia, and then the newscasters were saying, we don't get it. Russia does not seem to be militarily even remotely close to us. What was all this thing about? So you need your instincts operational. You cannot allow people to use certain trigger words to get you to perform, because you can end up in places you would have never chosen to be. So Trump, put away the word communism, not the concept, just the word. And when somebody starts with that whole thing, you go, Give me the details. Countries change regimes all the time, having nothing to do with communism. But bring up the word communism, and you got everybody that loves war right there. We're going to save the world from communism. And we did Russia, whatever, whatever. And then there's nothing there. Meanwhile, and I'm going to keep talking. I had a manicurist, talking about manicurists. I had a manicurist, and she would go to Cuba. She married some guy in Cuba. She lived here. She married some guy in Cuba, so she would go every 2 or 3 months to spend some time with him. And I would have her tell me stories. I like to hear these stories. And it was at a time in which Cubans were able to get, maybe this was like 8 or 9 years ago. It was the second house I moved in when I had to sell my house because of the Cuban political mafia. When the monks, plus the shaman I brought in from Colombia, they said, "You can't stay here. This is crazy." Anyway, so Cuba got cell phones. And by the way, Cuba was considered at that time, this would have been 8 or 10 years ago, the sexiest country on the planet. Got it? They got cell phones. So this girl, and I have this big thing about cell phones because I know cell phones radiate microwave. Why are you putting it next to your private parts? What are you doing? So I said to me, "Tell me about this whole thing with the cell phones." She said, "You know what? It's god awful." And I went, "Oh, okay. Why is it god awful?" She said, "Before you walked out in the street, you walked to your front porch, because in Cuba, people sit in their front porches. Here, you sit in the back and have a barbecue that's private. Countries like that, you sit in the front, you want to talk to people." She said, "You know what? Nobody talks to anybody anymore. Everybody's on their cell phone." She said, "It's totally different energy, totally different vibe." And since then, I've asked several people, and they all say the same thing. Nobody talks. I don't think it's the sexiest country in the world anymore because of the cell phones. So now, population collapse. We need to look at stuff we don't want to look at. We need to look at our addictions because the cell phone is an addiction. So, okay, I think we're finished. I did a lot of talking, and trying to figure out which mantra. Let's just do the depression one, which is the one that I think the whole planet is suffering under. In this case, I'm showing it because when I do my sketches, I want to sketch what's most important right now. And that's what's most important, is a spiraling into a depression. That's a lot of people. Just the immigrants, there's millions and millions. They have to be depressed. Let's do that one. Even though, see, some of the people following me now are triggered by the whole thing with communism. You know what's interesting? I have people that follow me that I kind of know that they're really not. They pretend that they're kind of like the followers, and I can tell that they're gonna, what they're doing and what it is, they're gonna show their hand, and they have. I've had to ask a couple of people who I suspected were mind control victims, and since Trump said he was releasing the Kennedy stuff, they're here and they will make comments that is coding for mind control. So anyway, I've asked them not to come back. I tell you. I talked a lot. Can't imagine what it must be like to be a free person. So you know what? Don't talk about communism. Don't you dare point fingers at other people. I was born in a military base. I'm 77 years old. I have never been free because of the American government. Do not point fingers at other people. Take care home, which is what Trump is doing. Don't be pointing fingers at other people and stop with the communism. It is aging you, and it's also maybe saying something else about you. The whole knowing, like what is it, neurolinguistics, knowing what button to push to get people to react. Anyway, here's the mantra. You repeat it silently, gently expel the breath through your mouth, and you will be able to release all of this tension here, which is, and that tension, by the way, ends up hiding in your waistline as a backache. So expel through your mouth. Let's do 5 minutes, okay? So I have another chat in which we're going to go back to Venezuela and find out why that guy's still there. Meanwhile, apparently, one of the maps I did for Venezuela, the lately one, I sketched some green area, some areas that were healing. And a couple days later, some of the guys in the chat said, there's violence there. Why would there be violence there if I painted the energy of healing? But it wasn't a coincidence that I was highlighting an area in which stuff was going on. So we're going to go back there today. And we're going to go back to Mexico because there was something weird happening. We're talking not politics, even though when I say, why is that guy still there? I guess that is a little bit political. Oh, well, it must have been all those politicians I was made to sleep with. Okay. It works. See how much softer my voice is? Can we imagine if we can get the whole country to have this tool, mantras, which is centuries old, free? See the way my right eye jumps? That eye has to do with uh, your mind, having to do with security, safety. And I don't remember my eye jumping like this ever, other than now. But it makes sense. That's the way everybody who has still people that have victimized them, how they have to be feeling. Yes, we're on to a great place, but this space of time is a little bit dangerous. Not just for us, for people like Trump also, etc. Okay? This is not just all about me. Anyway, thank you for joining me. I'm Frances Fox, and we'll see you again. Bye.